So now we come to the part of the build where we're going to assemble the x-axis or the gantry. Now, to prepare to do that, I have brought this gantry plate all the way down to the front, and I've offset that one just up a ways because I planned, when I have made the gantry up, is to slip it in that end first, support this end. Okay, I'll actually be supporting it on the bracket here too. There's a little L bracket to go on the bottoms and the tops of the gantry assembly. So I'll be putting the bottom bracket onto here so I can rest it on there, because this is going to be quite weighty, somewhere in the region of about 25 kilograms, about 50 pounds, maybe. So, you know, being nearly 70, and I'm building it myself, so you use every aid you can to assist you, to make life easy. So I'll be slotting it in that end, then pulling this down, and then I'll be able to slot the bearing in there and put a couple of screws in. All these plates are relatively slack. Okay, so it gives me a little bit of movement so I can, you know, get the bearing on. Okay, so the gantry is made up of 3 major parts. Okay, and as you've seen in the earlier video, there's 2 linear rails on the front facing C rail, and 1 at the top of the rear facing C rail. And of course, this is all sandwiched up together, held together by 3 of these plates. Now, Yuyong have made a video of how to assemble this, and they assemble this with the 3 of these plates on the top surface, and really just rely on the 2 bottom brackets here to hold the bottom closed. Well, I'm going to alter a little bit from that, where I'm going to put 2 of these on the top section, and I'm going to put 1 in the middle on the underside to hold it all together. In my mind, that makes more sense. So that's what we're going to do. And of course, there is a myriad of screws to put it together, which make it, you know, all very, very sturdy indeed. So we're going to start by rolling this one over, and we're going to set this 40 by 40 stiffener in here, which is a pretty good fit actually. And this time, this is absolute size for size, which is very good. So there's that, and then this one goes on this way, and it's a extremely good fit. Okay, so if I roll this over like that, let me see, what do we got here? I'll fetch you in for a bit of a closer look so you can see what I'm doing. So because I'm putting 2 plates on the top, one here, one a bit further down, and 1 underneath, I'm going to be putting, you see, 16 of these T-slot nuts. So 4 in each slot. Okay, so because I'm putting 2 at the top here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark, put just a mark there at 300 and a mark at 700, like that, because that is I think dispersing the load in the most appropriate place. As the retaining screws for this are again the 5mm, 8mm long, 5mm thread by 8mm long, that is. Just putting them in there loose. Okay, so ensuring that this is absolutely all square, which it is, just hold this fairly firm and do your screws up. Okay, so we're relatively safe there, that is all nice and square. It should stay that way. Roll it over. In my case, I'm now going to roll it over, and I'm going to put the plate here in the center. So let's measure that. So it needs to be 500, just there. Okay, so assembling the x-axis is near identical to assembling the y-axis. So you just place the linear square bearing blocks onto the linear square rails. You place the ball nut block onto the ball nut, and then you get your x-axis plate, turn it around the right way, and assemble onto your ball screw nut block, for want of a better word. It is important not to tighten these up, alright, so leave it quite slack. Oops. Leave it about so half a turn slack, because you're going to want to move this a little to be able to line the bearing up. Okay, so I've got my spacer blocks on top of my linear square rail bearings, so we're just going to place this squarely on top like so. These are the 4mm and they're 32mm long. And what do I need? This. So now, very gently, pop that down through there. First couple of these are a little bit fiddly. See, that one's in okay now. So the next three are going to be okay. Just put it in a couple of turns like that. Nothing too difficult about this build, really. Now it's important to leave these all loose, so you can actually move this around, okay, to be able to, sort of get the bearings, get the shaft through the bearings and get everything lined up. Okay, for this next part, now there are two ways of doing it. You can, and I'll just show you. So you're going to roll this over now, like so. And of course, on the back side, you have this third supporting rail to, take, what it does, it transfers some of the motion or load from the spindle, transfers it over to the back of the gantry, which is an extremely good idea, actually. So to do that, there's another pair of linear rails, which we're going to put on here now. One. Okay, so they're on there now, and I may as well do it now. I was saying that there's two ways. You could either, put this up in situ now and attach the gantry plates here, onto the end and tighten it all up, and then put this on. Or, we can put it on now, which is what we'll do fairly quickly. It's not saving a lot of weight, but this is getting quite heavy now. Okay. So having turned it round, we can flip it up, rest it on that front Z-axis plate, and we can get another 8 of these. Okay, so to fit this rear plate, there are 8 little 4mm by 8mm, actually, button head screws. And again, loosely fitted. No need to do anything up tight yet. Everything on the base, on the chassis and the base and the Y-axis have all been tightened up now, because everything is built and in place. Okay, so I'm going to roll this back up now. Oh, we're getting a bit weighty now. And then this plate goes in between here. This is where you need to leave it loose. So let's get the appropriate screws for this, which I'm pretty certain are these little button head. Okay, so these particular screws are the N6, and they're 16mm long. So they go in here. Again, these are large button head. Okay, so as you can see, this is a very sturdy component now, and I believe that this won't flex at all. So the next stage is to actually fit the gantry into these gantry risers or side plates, whatever you want to call them. Now, to make life easy for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit these, this particular bracket this side here. So I've got somewhere to, when I put the shaft through the bearing here, I've got somewhere to rest this on. and then I can pull this back, and I'll have another one of these on this side, so I can then rest this on and place the end of the ball screw through that bearing at the same time, hopefully. Okay, so now comes the, well, not really tricky part, but you know, you're dealing with something that's over 20 kilos, which is over 45 pounds. So, you know, you take all the precautions that you can. I've got a block of wood here, roughly the height that it needs to be. I've got this bracket here, I've got a bracket on that side as well. Now I'm going to lift this up and put this ball screw shaft through here and rest the gantry on here, then draw this plate that hopefully is slack enough. I might have to slack him a little bit more, and bring him down and slip onto here. So that's how it's supposed to work, so let's give it a go. Like I say, it's very weighty, so we're going to pick that up. Like I say, it's a little fiddly, but you can do it all right. Voila, it's in. It's not too difficult, and I'm 70-year-old, actually in a few weeks. 45 pounds, you know, it's relatively easy. There's nothing too difficult about it, and there it is. It's in place. Now then, you will notice that I have brought the gantry side plates all the way down so they're butted up against here, both sides. Okay? That's because I want to guarantee when I put the screws in here and tighten everything up, and I should be using a square as well, which I'll show you in a minute or two. I want to be absolutely sure that this gantry is square to the y-axis and, you know, absolutely square to the whole machine. and this is the only way to do it. You can't just sort of do this up any old how, you know, halfway up the machine. So we'll do that. I got some screws in here, which is the, these are the 5mm or M5s by 20. They're the ones that you know, that go through the gantry plates, and also these end plates. So we're gonna put all these in now. Oh, incidentally, second row up. That L bracket on the underside goes on the second row up. I don't know what that bottom row of holes is for yet. I'm sure they're there for a good reason, but what I don't know yet. So I'm going to be busy now for the next probably 15 minutes putting all these screws in, and I'll show you how to get all the gantry square and do it up nice and firm. Okay, so having got all the screws in here, they're still loose, so now's the time to start squaring your gantry up. So this bench is absolutely flat. The chassis is absolutely flat, as you'd expect. So now we're going to, I've got a square here, and just needs a little tiny bit there, like that. Just needed a very slight movement over that way. So now I'm going to do I'm going to do one of the top bearings up and one of the bottom bearings. Then recheck. That's pretty well spot on. So now I can do all those bearings up. So let me repeat the process on the other side. Because you've got both ends square and they're up against here flush, like that. Now you can do these up. But first, you've got to make sure that this is square. Okay, so easiest way to do that is by hitting your square and taking one end there like that. You know, you can move it a millimetre or so either way to get it absolutely right. Just do a couple of the screws up. And recheck it. That's perfect. So you can do all of them up now. Making sure that everything, you know, there's nothing binding there. So now I'm going to go to the back, square that one up, or make sure it's square, and just nip those bolts up there. Okay, so having got this far, we're going to have a little proof session here to prove that nothing's binding, everything's running free, and if everything is square and parallel and all lined up, especially with the 3 linear square rails, I should be able to catch out of this without too much difficulty, pull the axes down, and the ball nut should rotate the screw, and there shouldn't be any binding. And it's necessary for me to bring the carriage all the way up here to be able to tighten these up. Okay? Because at the moment the gantry is not solidly connected to the side plate. Okay? So here we go. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I can do these up tight now if I get the right size. And there's a couple of reasons why I've done this, is because the end of the shaft in the bearing here, the ball screw, needs to be exactly in the right place so there's no binding in the actual ball screw. And the gantry, or these multiple C-beam cluster making up the gantry, needs to be absolutely square with, you know, the gantry plates as well. I can tell that because at the back of the gantry here, this is absolutely flush. So I know it's square, and there was no binding in the ball screw. So again, that is another indication telling me that everything is square here. So I'm just going to tighten this up. And again, we can check the y-axis. About as long as my arm has reach. Everything's staying really square. Perfect. Well, this is a very, very interesting build. This is turning out to be a really solid machine, and I've found very little to grumble about anything actually. It's been well thought out. And it's going to be a very sturdy machine, and it's actually, as I'm sure you'll agree, it's quite a large machine too. It's working out to be pretty well identical size to the one I designed and built over there, the MAXI. And I think this will do anything that the MAXI will do. Okay, so I've decided to draw this video now to a conclusion, because, you know, this is the sort of the structural build then, or the end of the structural build. Apart from the Z-axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build in the next video I'm going to build the Z-axis up in maybe greater detail than what I've done any of the other axes, and you know, we'll mount the spindle and we'll mount all the motors in the next video, and if I've got enough time I'll put things on like the cable chains, but again, if I have enough time in that video without making it too boring, I'll even run the cable, you know, or maybe it would be better for me to you know, sort of, you know, put all the sensors up, and then run all the cables with that, and then for a separate video again I will make the electrical box and you know, do the wiring, because it's not complicated. It's a little bit more wiring to do because they're hybrid servo motors and drivers. There's a few more wires, but it's fairly easy enough. And then the last video, then we will upload Mach 3, tune it into Mach 3, and we'll get it cutting something. Okay then, so thank you for joining me for this video. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you really enjoy what I'm doing, you know, my videos, you may consider becoming a patron to the channel. Patron information is down below the comment section. You'll also find a 5% Carveco discount code, and you'll also find a direct link to, if you're interested, go and have a look at you know, the pricing and purchasing one of these machines yourself. So there's a link for that down below as well. So until the next video, bye for now.